Hello and welcome to Everybody Pulls the Tarp. I'm your host, Andrew Moses. With me today, a very, very special guest, the Chief Executive Officer of the fast-growing, explosive growth Topgolf Entertainment Group, Dolf Berle. Welcome to the show, Dolf.
Thank you, Andrew. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you, Dolf. Before we get into your career as a business leader and as a CEO, there's something about you that is really, really interesting. As I understand it, you're the reigning world champion for the pole vault for age 55 to 59.
Yes, that's right. And something that was even more taxing was I'm number one U.S. and number two in the world in the decathlon for men that age.
So how did you get into pole vaulting?
Well, I did it out of necessity when I was in college. I wanted to be a decathlete. I needed to be a decathlete. I was fourth best on the team at a number of different track and field events. And so naturally that led to being a more successful multi-event athlete. And the way I returned to it after about 15 years off after college was that I was very inspired to do it because my son, Bax, who's now 21, was diagnosed with autism. And that was a really challenging moment in our family history. And I needed something to have in my life that would give me strength and give me something to think about and draw strength from to be strong for the fight against autism. And I've been doing it now for the last 20 years with other people my old age. And it's a way of life and it's an identity that gives me a lot of joy.
So you're a world champion. How do you you make that shift back to competitive sport after taking some time off? How has competing at an elite level and the work ethic that you need to put into that, how has that in a sense influenced your leadership and your role as a CEO?
Well, in so many ways, we could talk for a long time about that. I think there's a few pieces to it. One is that having some big goal that has some real purpose and mission behind it, and that you can do with other people is really the greatest thing in life, if you ask me. And so, even if you're a track and field athlete and compete in an individual event or two, there's a whole team of people that are around you in order to help you accomplish that goal. And so, the concept of a team that makes hard things happen or can accomplish difficult things clearly carries over into the business world. And I think the other thing is that in decathlon particularly is a metaphor for life. And so all of the obstacles that you face and all of the discipline that's required and the training and the mentorship and the failing and then hopefully succeeding later, but the failing forward and learning from it is absolutely something that carries over into the corporate world. And so I really have the orientation of a coach and athlete as I think about building the fantastic team that I'm privileged to work for here at Topgolf.
So you talked about coaches and coaching, and in many ways, being a CEO of a company as large and at the scale of Topgolf is in many ways you're a coach, and that's most important. Is if you go way back in your life, was there a coach in particular that had made a particular impact on your life?
I think every coach has an impact on people's lives, and that's really the remarkable thing about the coaching community. I think different coaches have done different things for me. It's rare that you find a coach that is a combination of all the technical expertise and also the emotional support and understands the athlete so well that they can be all of those things for you. But the best coaches that I have met, and these are people like Harry Mera, for example, who is like the preeminent decathlon coach in the world. And so he is now saying you have to coach the athlete, not just the technical part of the event. And so what that means to me is really know your team, really understand their strengths, weaknesses, hopes, goals, dreams, and understand what drives them. And then build together a common purpose around what you're trying to do that really hits everybody's hot buttons deep where they live. And so coaches are the ones who can do that. And coaches are also, I think, always learning. And so you have to have the mindset, I think, as a CEO particularly, that you're always learning And we're in big trouble if I think I have all the answers. This is really a team effort to do something as complicated as what we do at Topgolf.
So we've talked about, clearly there's a connection between the competitive sport and lessons you're able to take from competitive sport and bring them and apply those in business and as a leader. What about the reverse? Now, when you went back to competitive sport later in your life, were there things that you felt like you had sharpened and fine-tuned in your skill sets as a CEO and as a business operator that you were able to bring to sport?
Well, I think that patience and understanding the pace at which things can move and the sequence about how to get a great outcome that may take some time is something that comes a little bit more with being a more mature business executive.
So I want to get into Topgolf a little bit. So Topgolf, one of the fastest growing companies on the planet. You guys have experienced explosive growth. You're essentially transforming the entire entertainment landscape, not just the golf landscape.
Wow, let's do this. Woo!
There you go. You must know my friend Michael Breed if you're throwing around "Let's do this." Michael on SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio. Well, anyways, we that's his mantra. He loves Let's do this.
I'm from Massachusetts, so I have to say "Let's go" like Tom Brady also.
Oh, there you go. So talk to me a little bit about what's going on at Topgolf these days.
Great. Yeah. Well, Topgolf is a platform company. So we have our Topgolf venues, and those are the ones that are driving range structures where we've democratized golf and everybody's welcome no matter who you are or where you come from or whether you're wearing high heels or cowboy boots. And we just make it really fun, right, and accessible for people. And that's a little different than traditional golf. So that's like the really cool thing we're doing with the venues. And then we franchise that. We own and operate it in America. We franchise it internationally. We just opened in Monterrey, Mexico. We're open down in Australia. We're going to open in Dubai here in another few weeks. And we've got some great sites in China and Southeast Asia and Central Europe that are also underway. So the worldwide expansion via franchising is another part of it. And then we have this thing called Top Tracer, which is the flight of the ball that you see on TV and the shot statistics. So that's a technology that is part of our Top Tracer broadcast, but then also we carry into driving ranges across the world. And we're creating an interconnected network of hitting bays across many, many countries that allow us to do global tournaments. We actually did a global tournament on driving ranges last December with 19 countries and over 7,000 people. So we're networking it all together, and people could actually play against the pros that way. So that's exciting. And then we have Swing Suites, which is the indoor downtown urban expression of a Topgolf, which is a simulator. And then the last thing, but not the least by any means, is Topgolf Media. And Topgolf Media is the World Golf Tour game, a popular online game, and also a partnerships group. But then really fun is the original content that we're doing. And soon now, you're going to see a co-production we did with Will Smith, the actor, called This Joker, which was filmed in part at Topgolf Las Vegas, and we helped produce that. So our whole idea is we want to bring joy to the masses. Golf is a great vehicle for it. Helps if you can drink and also eat at the same time. But we're really excited about the international linking of the game, both digitally and also physically. And so I think we're representing what is a model for the future of entertainment companies that have both physical assets as well as digital assets.
So there are lots of big things there, and you guys have a broad vision for how you're transforming entertainment and sport. So you and I have talked about, Dolf, this show is called Everybody Pulls the Tarp.
Right.
And it's all based upon a philosophy that I have that great teams, great organizations are powered by individuals who contribute in unexpected ways. So I'm wondering, amidst all the big things that you have going on, are there little things, seemingly small things that you do or the team does, or you see people on your team do on a daily basis that you feel like make a big difference?
For sure. And, every one of us who is a leader at Topgolf, and this is, in the thousands at this point, has a responsibility to be a good role model. And so in our business, and I think this is true in much of the hospitality business, you never walk past a piece of trash on the floor. If you see that a toilet is, needs to be cleaned, you jump on it because you don't want a guest coming in and finding that. And so I would be one of the people who would do those kinds of things. But I think in my role, what can be special and what I think is really worth an effort is connecting with people in a way that demystifies the role and the hierarchy. And so I'll just give you an example, maybe going back probably 10 years now or more. When I was the COO for House of Blues many years ago, I had this tradition where I would call every salaried manager in the place on Thanksgiving. And as we grew the company, that ended up being over 400 phone calls. So I would get in a room with a phone and a big list, and I would bang through it. And some of the greatest joy in my life was reaching the kitchen manager in some place 1,000 miles away, or someone who just wasn't expecting the call, and talking to them about their family and how things were going for them. And that really sustained me also, and helps build culture, right, in a way that people feel that others care. And so I think there's a lot of ways you can do it, but it's more of a way of life than any one thing. And if, as a leader, if you can have a few rituals around it that force you to do it, even with all the other distractions, I think that's how you can make a difference.
What's interesting there, Dolf, right, and you touched on this, is not only did it impact the 400 individuals that you called positively, you brightened their day, but it seems like it impacted you positively too, and it lifts your spirits in many ways.
Andrew, it's such a good observation on your part, and you're right, because at the times when I've been feeling the most maybe down, or things are tough, or something really difficult has happened, I have always gotten more strength from calling other people and trying to do something for them in a way that makes me feel like I'm making a difference on the planet. And I think that might be typical of extroverts, maybe more than introverts. But for those of us who are involved in lots of various kinds of charity work, and you shared with me the remarkable story that you have about helping the autism community and kids who are in the college ranks, I think that a lot of people, and I'm one of them, actually draw strength and meaningful and meaning in life by trying to do nice things for other people. And so I hope that's true for most of us.
I have a phrase, I call it being a net giver. And I think the best leaders, the best people wake up every morning and they say, how am I going to, if there's a score sheet, right? How am I going to give more than I receive, right? Because if you give more than you receive, you're going to feel good. You're going to impact a lot of people in a positive way. And I think that positivity, it's a wheel that just keeps spinning, right? Positivity breeds more positivity in many ways, dude.
I still agree with you. Yeah.
It's interesting. I can only imagine, that day on Thanksgiving, those 400 calls. What a remarkable story. I want to get into another episode during your time at House of Blues. So I believe you were at House of Blues during the September 11th attacks back in 2001.
Yes, and Hurricane Katrina was another big one because we were down there in New Orleans. Yes, that's correct.
So obviously, right now, right? If you look at that time and you compare it to where we are now, right? The country is, the last 6, 7, 8 months is going through a very, very challenging time. Topgolf has certainly also had to navigate, the social distancing and the circumstances that face us. But if you go back to 2001, the 9/11 attacks happen, and you're running House of Blues. You're the president, of House of Blues at that point. What did you do? Did you bring the team together? How did you guys get through it?
Well, thank you for asking about that. I was the COO actually at that point, Chief Operating Officer, and so you may recall that that the world shut down and had to pause for a moment while there was a real fear about what would happen next, and that was true across America for certain. And so what we did is we scrambled to make sure everyone that we were responsible for was okay. That was a little bit challenging because the phone grid got overloaded at one point. But we pulled a team together, and we realized that we were really in the fight for our lives in order to keep the company going. because we had a great fear, of course, that concerts particularly, which is what we were in the business of, would not be viable. Any large group mass gatherings were going to be difficult if terrorism attacks such groups. So the unforgettable part of it was that our team of people from all functions came together in a group, and in about 6 hours retooled the business and our focus and what we would do and how we would save money in order to ensure that we were viable going forward. And what was amazing about it was that from a financial standpoint, we actually made our target for the end of the year, which was seemingly impossible, at least at first blush, given what happened. But I think the lasting part of that experience for me is that I will never forget those people and the work that we did and how much courage there was and how much compassion. You can tell I get emotional thinking about it. And we're just forever bonded in a way that is much stronger than time and much stronger than geography. And so from a leadership standpoint, it's a real privilege to actually serve when things are very difficult. And I have to kind of think about that also in this time of COVID.
You know, they say, right, like any leader, you know, it's easy for a leader to look good, and it's easy, you know, to lead when things are going really well, right? And that's
Sure.
probably an understatement. It's still very, very hard to lead even when things are going well. But when a company or a team or an organization has their backs up against the proverbial wall, you know, whether it's by something that they've created or an external circumstance, you find out a lot about yourself and those around you. A very interesting story you share there. So let's fast forward a little bit to now. So you go back to February or March timeframe, and the COVID crisis is really starting to pick up. How did you take that experience back in 2001 at House of Blues and lean on that to guide your leadership here in 2020?
Sure. Well, you know, this has been a different type of a crisis, but with some similarities. We actually closed all our venues and had to furlough nearly 20,000 people in mid-March. There was a lot of crying that day, I can tell you, because, you know, we really feel deeply about trying to support and take care of all the people who work for us, many of whom are paycheck to paycheck. But I think the lesson from 2001 was that you have to connect with people as fast as possible so that they don't feel alone and so that they know that their opinions and their well-being matter. And you need actually multiple perspectives from lots of different people who come from different places and different situations to understand the problem and also to try to solve it. And so all of that, I think, allowed us to move more quickly here this year with COVID. And I think, you know, once again, I was very privileged to work with a bunch of people who had tremendous reservoirs of goodwill and good feeling about our culture and about, you know, who we are and what we're trying to do at Topgolf. And that really carried us because the starting point for everyone was we want to treat each other well and charitably. We want to do everything we can for guests and for our people, and we're in it together. And if, you know, with that starting point, you can do a lot.
Are there moments, you know, when you're staring at some type of adversity and you almost think back to when you're getting ready to pole vault and you say, okay, like I was nervous about that at some point. I can do this.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm a person who's afraid of heights. And but I competed a couple times on American Ninja Warrior, which involves a lot of being up high. And so I called my brother-in-law, Tom, who was an Army Ranger and who had a parachute certification, to say, Tom, if you're afraid of heights, how do you deal with that? Because I can, you know, grab things and swing on things and pull myself up on things, but I'm really just freaked out by this like 20 feet between me and the water beneath me. And I also don't like to, you know, get my head underwater because the water goes in my ears. So anyway, what he said to me was, he said, look, it's familiarity. Familiarity is a great source of strength under adversity. And so there's no question that those of us who have been through, some number of challenging business environments, including 2008 and 2009 with the recession, understand that what you have to do in those circumstances is lean into it, stay strong in it, pull the team together, listen to everyone, and make sure that you're taking care of people both emotionally as well as every other way that you can. And then if you do all that, then you have a chance at a decent outcome. And at least in my lifetime, each time that we've been able to do that, and I've been with people who embrace that, we've been able to come out the other side.
So you said the word team there a few times, and obviously these are all team efforts, under your leadership. Yeah. How do you go, at all the places that you've been, whether it was House of Blues, now here at Topgolf, how do you go about assembling a team around you that is going to gel and unite against a common vision?
Sure. Well, I think that there's some common themes, and you can certainly read up on Bruce Tuckman or Amy Edmondson, both of whom deal with phases of teams and also psychology behind teams. And I think that's really good stuff. And I try to read that type of work every couple of years. But also teams are also purpose-built, right? And so you have to just be really thoughtful about your situation. And there's this model in business you probably heard of called the STARS model. Like, are you in a startup, a turnaround? Are you accelerating growth? Are you repositioning? Or are you sustaining excellence? Because if you all agree on your situation and you agree on the goal and you have clarity around that, then you know more what you need in terms of the team. And so the fun of being a business leader, or whether you're just coming up in the ranks or whether you eventually have other roles that are more senior, is actually the very dynamic qualities of the business world and the marketplace and society in general. And as a business person, you rest on all the academic disciplines, or you don't rest on them. You draw from all of them, and that's the fun of it. And so I would say that I really like being on teams where there's just a whole lot of zeal around some difficult goal, and if we get there, we've done something that's creative and innovative, and something that we can tell our children about.
I have to believe that people around you feed off of your energy and your work ethic, and the fact that you do bring your whole self, right? You've got your hands in a lot of different things. You've got a lot of different passions. Do you think people feed off of that?
Well, I think we all feed off each other, right? So I think I have to do my part in that, and I'm just very fortunate, because I'm a person who didn't grow up thinking I'd be a business person. I thought that I'd be a minister or a teacher. And so I've had a chance to try on different things. At one point, I wanted to be a musical recording artist for children. You can check out my music, on Spotify and things like that. I wanted to be the next Mr. Rogers. And so I feel like I have enough background to try to connect with lots of different types of people and hopefully meet them where they are. And the biggest breakthrough for me, actually, Andrew, and it's interesting the way you phrased that question, is I got a lot of advice about going back about 10 years that it was okay to show vulnerability, because I grew up a little bit in an era and also with a father who was just a really kind of strong and sort of stoic figure. And I'm naturally kind of an emotional person and sentimental and a bunch of things like that. And so once I was given permission to be vulnerable, and show imperfection and fear and sadness and all those sorts of things, it was amazing how much happier I was, and it was amazing how much more effective I think I was, with a lot of people who are going through all of their own struggles. And so I continue to learn, but I like being in an environment where we're fired up every day to try to make something great happen. To me, that's really fun.
Well, that vulnerability that you described there I think it goes a long way to creating that connection that you talk about, the relationship, that feeling that, you're, as a team, you're willing to run through that proverbial wall for those around you, right? And so obviously, you talk about that passion for achieving some type of ambitious goal, but that energy that you have, the energy that the team has, helps you chart that course.
I have a phrase I use whenever we're talking about something, we have this concept called one team at Topgolf. That's one of our 5 core values. And I will sometimes couple that. We're going to be one team, and we're doing it for all the children. And what I mean is we're all doing things here that are going to help the children of all the people who work with us, because it's really for them that we're trying to do, what we're doing, so they can have good lives and they can carry on the torch as, as great Americans, as great, global citizens, because we have people all over the world. So, so one team is a big thought for us.
What a fascinating way of really putting it into perspective, right? It's not a job. This is real impact that you're having. What a phenomenal story. Before I let you go, Dolf, I want to dig into a little bit of the work-life balance and the productivity. I mean, there is no question, you get a ton done. We all have 24 hours in a day. Talk a little bit about how you go about balancing it all.
Well, I was very lucky. I had a good role model in my mother and also in my father. And growing up farming, what was sort of fundamental to that life was discipline and routines. And so what I try to do is really be anchored personally in discipline and routines that I know set me up for a chance at a good day every day. So that's a combination of sleep and meditation and exercise. I think a lot of people get a lot out of daily prayer. That's really up to the individual. But I think those aspects of self-care are ones that set you up physically, chemically, emotionally, to be and hopefully your best. And I also have, I think a lot about rest and recovery, particularly as a decathlete. You have all-out effort that you train for months for, and then you need to recover. It takes about 6 weeks in my age to recover from a decathlon. And so I think about in terms of our team. Like if we've gone through something really hard, really difficult, like how are we doing? Do we have the energy for the next effort? And so all that kind of goes into it. But my recommendation to people is just to listen to shows like this and to read about it. And there's a lot of really good work out there about how to try to maximize your own existence and where you can draw strength from.
Dolf, this has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for joining Everybody Pulls the Tarp.
Thank you. You're doing great work.
Well, thank you, Dolf. And to our viewers and our listeners, you can catch all of our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you stream your podcasts. Of course, everybodypullsthetarp.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at AndrewMoses123. Dolf, thank you again for joining Everybody Pulls the Tarp.
Nice to see you, Andrew.